work, takes it, identifies what you want to serve, and it gives it back. We found that majority of web servers are open source. And on your screen, you can see the percentage of market cap, at least in the top four sections of it. So every time you run internet, you are interacting with open source from the server side, from the toolings in between on how all of these different APIs and tools interact as well. Scale is our mandate, and especially in the area where UNICEF is interested in. If you just go around looking for most famous or most successful humanitarian solutions, especially the one that fits our need, open source is the only strategy that has worked for us. Or in general, open source is the most successful strategy for any kind of solution. If you want to build for scale, for robust long-term maintenance, and just more secure development practices. On your screen, you can see the list of 10 of them. I just asked the random large language models of the day on what are the top 10 humanitarian solutions. It gave me a list, and how many of them are open source? All of them. The number can vary between 90% to 95% depending on what day and what's your prompt and how you're asking it. But the point is, if you want to reach the most unreachable people, open source is the successful strategy with this. Sylvia, could we go to next slide again? And this is a slide, this is out of draft of 2023 federal report by US government, which calls out open source specifically on how ubiquitous and important it has been in setting all the critical digital infrastructure for United States. But this goes beyond just United States. More and more countries are now creating policies and prioritizing open source when they interact with any vendor or about to procure a solution. So they have, German has released the second digital amendment and second policy that enforces open source first policy even more. Same goes for Switzerland, the Italian government, which has done same. We are working with Sierra Leone government. There are many UN agencies working with different governments within African regions. And more developing nations are also participating this move by developed countries, specifically European Union, where they prioritize open source whenever they go about looking for a new solution. So there is a lot of value in identifying how your business, if your business has an opportunity to work with government, it might be a great opportunity to also capitalize on that. Next slide, Sylvia. But the real question, which a lot of the time we get, and it's a real fear, uncertainty, and doubt, is how do you make money with open source? So I just want to talk on that for a few minutes. Next slide, Sylvia. As a startup, when you are writing your new solution, most of the time we are developing this thing. We don't want to let go control of our solution that we have written. We often think that open source means there is no intellectual property involved in that. But copyright, as per Berne Convention, any kind of creative work put on internet by default is copyright to its original owner, original author. So when you put something as open source, it means that you still hold the copyright to it, but you are allowing users to use those technology or solution under those four freedoms we talked about. And that's where open source licenses come in. If you get into the venture fund, you will have open source mentors working with you in identifying what kind of license works the best for your business needs, your partnerships, and your solution, which will help you set success for more scale and growth. IP is the foundation of open source. There will be no open source without an intellectual property because you cannot give anyone permission to use it or modify it. So copyright is core part of it. Next slide, Sylvia. The best way to imagine how a business around open source works is this recipe versus the cake. If you want to bake a cake or if you want to get a cake for your friend's birthday, if you just Google or if you go on internet and search, there'll be thousands, if not millions of recipes available which you can go and probably bake a really good cake. But what it requires is you need to have all the equipment at home, time, skills, and consistency, right? Over time, you need to have made enough to know that it's going to turn out good. We pay to the cake shops because we want the convenience of just being able to go, buy, and use it, and not having to worry about all the infrastructure that we need and the time and the capacity to build a good cake. So same goes with open source. When we talk about open source software, we talk about the ingredient and recipes of a solution, the source code that developers write, and then you compile it to build build a module or build a binary that you distribute, on how you download it in your App Store or Google Play Store, those applications, or go to a website to access that solution. We are talking about the recipe of that, the source code of your solution. That is open source. But it does not mean that people have free or unlimited access to your hosted solution. The best example I can give you is I have been using this password manager called Bitwarden for about 10 years now. I've been paying for 7+ years. I used their free version at start, and then I could also host it myself because it is open source. I could download it, run it on my own server, but that requires having a server. That requires having an internet connection where I can always connect to my server in all my devices and connect and use it. That also requires my own personal skills and capacity to always be updated, downloading, installing, upgrading any kind of security bug fixes or any kind of new features or new options that they may provide. So I just pay $10 a year to access that password manager. Now, this is how a business around open source works. Your source code is available for anyone to see and use if they really wish to. But what you provide is convenience. What you provide is services built on top of it. And there are many different business models we can take. Uh, if you get into venture fund, then we'll be going through all different kind of business models that might work for your specific solution. Source code is accessible. If you have, let's say, if you're building an application that connects patients to doctors, your expertise is about connecting doctors to the right patient and having partnerships with those doctors, and how you may take a percentage of every time a doctor get payment, right? So having source code published somewhere does not really come into your business needs. Sylvia, next slide. So when we share this slide with you on this link at the bottom, you'll have access to 46 companies who make more than $100 million a year. And overall, they have raised about $15 billion. And these are all 100% open source operating companies. Next slide. So now I want to just pull back to what an idea of business with open source looks like. On the top, what you see is what we call every customer that ever may be interested in your solution. We call them target market. And those lines that are heading downwards, those are your channels. Think of channels as the routes customer take to stumble upon your solution or what you are offering. And then there's a whole variety of ways that they might be doing it. It could be your advertisement, it could be word of mouth, it could be just going at the right place where there's need of that solution. Once your potential customer is intrigued by your stuff, that's the channel doing its work, guiding it, how they have discovered your product, guiding them on to stumbling upon your solution. And after that, they tumble into what it's called sales funnel, where you pitch them on why they should be using your solution or how you are able to solve whatever they need. At the end of the sales funnel, you have your pot of gold. This is how universally every business works, from a hot dog stand to cloud infrastructure. People talk about open source business models, but the reality is there is no open source business models. You have your business models, and open source act as a channel, which is my next slide. So open source is a channel. Sylvia, could you just, because it's a small slide. Yeah, there you go. So open source act as a channel of how you get people intrigued about your stuff, and then you provide them a good value add-on on why they should pay you. I'll take answers and questions in the end, but please do let me know. Do share your questions in the chat. I may also reply some of them as I go. Back to Sylvia.
Thank you, Vipul. I see a lot of questions are coming in the chat. We are going to continue the presentation. And if at the end of the presentation, some of those questions haven't been answered, we are going to answer those specific ones. So now, following the structure of the presentation, we want to speak specifically about how do we understand Femtech in the UNICEF Venture Fund. So Femtech is traditionally understood as solutions related to health, to feminine health. But in the UNICEF Venture Fund, we understand it as something that is broader. So we are addressing women's and girls, not only health and well-being, but also connected issues that can be social determinants for the health and well-being, and closing the gap that there is in most every space that is affecting girls and women. Through this call, as you have seen, we are looking for solution in three different areas. Three areas where AI and blockchain can deliver a solution and results for girls and women. So the first one are solutions that are designed to improve health and well-being for women and girls. The second one, we are looking for solutions that meet the specific needs in situations and contexts that affect them disproportionately or differently than male. And in the third area, we are looking for solutions that are addressing social and economical drivers to empower and enable participation. So this all sounds very abstract, could be. So I am going to invite Sana. Sana is leading the investment strategy of the venture fund to explain more about the examples and the specific solutions that we are looking for in each of these areas. Over to you, Sana.
Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you, so.
Sylvia and I are sitting in the same room, so apologies for that. So my name is Sana Bedi. Really quickly, going to just walk through some of the specific deep dives and the kinds of solutions we're looking for in this particular call for applications. In the first area that Sylvia mentioned, which is really looking at potential ways for us to improve health outcomes for women and girls. Within the scope of health outcomes, we have a few areas that we are actively considering. And this includes looking at AI models for accuracy and prediction, looking at predictive health needs. So how much can we analyze what is the demand and supply side in specific use cases related to health. We're also looking at potential supply chain efficiencies that can be leveraged both with AI as well as with blockchain solutions. There's a particular interest on-demand referral services. So not like chatbots necessarily that are directly responding to women's health needs, but actually looking at referral services. So ensuring that there is some kind of screening that then leads to a referral to a doctor. We are also interested in blockchain solutions for medical data or precision of medical data. This is to ensure that care is maintained across all qualities and all service centers and all chemists, for example. We also want to ensure that there is one sort of source of truth and that is not overwritten. So really leveraging blockchain. But again, as I was also addressing to some of the questions in chat, our goal is not to push for PII or sensitive data to be put on open licenses. It of course depends on solution to solution where it makes most sense for you. So I want to be very clear that that is going to be the topmost consideration or concern that we will review. And of course, you will work not just with Whipple, but his team of sort of mentors who work with our startups one-on-one to guide and advise on what license makes most sense for the companies that are part of our portfolio. We also are looking at solutions that are leveraging machine learning to tailor or translate health content. So here we're looking at solutions that can take content that is already available in public domain or that is generated through alternate channels, but tailor it and contextualize it specifically to the needs of local or regional languages, which are often maybe smaller languages spoken in fewer communities or fewer areas. Last but not least, within the health outcome space, we're also looking at solutions or tools or platforms that can help upskill frontline workers, primary healthcare workers, community healthcare workers that might be able to reach those in the most remote areas. Next slide, please. In the second area, which is, I would say, a little bit broader in the sense of looking at how can startups that are leveraging AI and blockchain be able to address areas or conditions that affect women and girls differently than they affect men. In this specific sort of space, we are looking at really AI solutions that can help eliminate bias. So how can we deal with bias in data, bias in models, bias in algorithms that then affect the response a solution gives? So trying to really understand the underlying cause here. We're also particularly interested in climate impacts on the lives of women and how women and girls and how solutions might help address those. So are there specific climate change related and health related data that helps, like platforms or tools that are helping us understand better climate data? How is climate impacting women and girls? Is there disaggregated data on men and women that can be studied and understood in different ways to then cater and build solutions that respond to those needs? We would also be interested in personalizing existing solutions. So how can we look at platforms that are, say, already designed for a particular audience, but adding A, B, or C feature to it can then help personalize it or tailor it in their customized needs. So that would be another area. I would say in general, preventing, overcoming, and recovering from gender-based violence is another sort of segment that this call looks at. Of course, I understand that this is a bit of a stretch from direct femtech solutions, but this is really helping us being able to address disproportionate impacts in spaces or in areas that can then connect us back here. And lastly, there is the confidential, trusted, and contextually relevant information for women and girls. This can, of course, change from context, country, even within country, within like regions of a country. There could be different levels of information that could be provided, could be tailored, or could be used or catered to women and girls based on their local communities, their regulations, social norms that could impact them. That's another lens there. Next slide, please. And the last but not least, sort of third pillar of this call is really looking at solutions that can be social or economic enablers for women. Now, in this particular segment, I would say we're going very much to any kind of tools that can help in overall empowerment, credit facilities, financial inclusion, and fintech. Can we look at potential ways to create microloans or micropayments to women and girls? Can we look at ways of promotion of youth entrepreneurship for women and girls? Can we look at channels of revenue or support for funding? That's one sort of area. The second is looking at low tech, low cost infrastructure and tools that can help them monitor their own data, their own information. So providing also child online safety for women and girls in online spaces, in online classrooms, in online social platforms and social media as well, and new ways to facilitate work. This could be gig economy, job matching, upskilling, looking at means of identifying new ways or channels for dignified work for women and girls is sort of also baked into this particular area. I think, Sylvia, that captures majority of the themes that we're looking to cover. We can come back to the questions if there are. Feel free to move to the next slide, please.
Thank you very much, Sana. Now we are going to start talking about the criteria for applying and how do we evaluate the companies, not only for these call for applications, but for all our calls for applications. It is important to note that the venture fund launches 2 to 3 calls for applications each year, and each call has a different thematic or focus. So for those people asking in the chat, that's the answer. And here we are going to speak specifically about the criteria. So what are the companies that are eligible to apply and to get the funding? So first of all, the company must be registered as a private for-profit. Secondly, it has to be, the registration must be in a UNICEF program country. And here there are a lot of questions regarding the moment of registration and the place of the registration. Companies at the moment of submitting the expression of interest, that is this window that we have open at the moment, don't need to be registered, doesn't need to be registered. But if the company is shortlisted for the due diligence, that is the next stage, it has to submit a proof of the registration. So I will explain later with a specific timeline for you to see what is the time that you have to register in case you are shortlisted. Third, the project and solution needs to generate publicly exposed real-time data. What does this mean? It means that we want to see a proof of a repository or some data that has, or information that has been generated from a pilot or a testing of what the solution is proposing. We want to see what are the promising results of the solution. And that's linked to the fourth criteria. The company and the solution must have a prototype or a minimum viable product of the solution that is looking for the funding. And here I want to make also a point. A lot of companies have multiple solutions. We are not requesting the whole company to have to be open source or to have a prototype. We are aiming to understand the solution that is specifically looking for the funding. And that specific solution must fit all these criteria. Fifth, the solution must have the potential to positively impact the lives of children and their families. And sixth, the solution must be open source or willing to be open source. And here I also want to say something. Being open source for the UNICEF Venture Fund is the key criteria, and it is the fundamental part of the investment thesis. So everything we do is aiming to build a portfolio of digital public goods. Therefore, if you see that your company, your solution, your business model is not fitting an open source technology, or you see that this is not a fit for you, is completely understandable. We, however, invite you to apply because we evaluate each company independently. And when we see there is a fit from the solution, the code, the data, we are going to always contemplate investing. So this shouldn't be the downside for not applying, but you should also understand that we are working on the companies to be sustainable and to have a business plan that works with an open source code. And now, how can you submit your application? This is another question that was in the chat. So you can go to the unicefventurefund.org. I am going to share these links in a moment in the chat. And you can go to the section that says apply for funding. You will see the main banner that says Femtech, and you can click on apply. You will, when you click on apply, you will see a form. This form takes around 30 to 40 minutes to complete, and you are going to see very wide question. So we want to understand what is your solution doing and what is the problem that the solution is trying to solve. And of course, what is the technology that you are developing and how is that technology supporting the solution that you are developing. You must include all the information in that form because this is what we are going to use to understand what is being proposed. You should include also a link to your 2-minute pitch video. And here I recommend you read the instructions of the video like very carefully because we are looking to see how is the solution working. Not only the person talking about the solution, but how is the solution looking at the moment of applying. If your solution is not yet generating data or revenue, it's also completely fine to apply. And if that's okay, if you mention in the video. We are flexible because we want to understand also what is the idea behind the solution proposed. For this deadline, for this Femtech call, the deadline for submissions of the expression of interest is 8 May. It means that you have like around 3 weeks to submit your application and do this specific video, which is very important. Once again, please include all the information in the form and explain what is your solution doing. Because the more you explain and the clearer it is, for us will be easier to shortlist and invite to the second evaluation stage. So what are we gonna evaluate in this stage of the process? First, we are going to see that the company is registered as a private for-profit in a UNICEF program country. And of course, that the solution is being implemented in that program country. The second criteria is that the solution has the potential to positively impact the lives of children. Third, the solution has an existing prototype and promising results. And fourth, the solution is open source or willing to be open source under one of these specific licenses. There was a question in the chat as well about who owns the IP or the code. And the question is, UNICEF will not own not the license, not the code, but UNICEF is going to support the building of the open source IP at the end of the work together. As a second stage, we in that website that we are going to share, you can read the request of expressions of interest. So this stage where we are receiving proposals is called the expression of interest. I encourage you to go through the document and read what is it about. In that document, we explain what we are looking for, what is the criteria that we use for evaluating each of the solutions, and you can see other details of how the UNICEF Venture Fund works and evaluates the expressions of interest. Through that document, you can also understand the submission process, learn about the project solutions that qualified and that have qualified already, and what is the scoring criteria that we are applying to each of the applications. So we have a total of 100 points or 100%, and we are splitting the scoring in the novelty of the project and alignment with the innovation principles, those 9 innovation principles that I spoke earlier, and to that criteria we are giving 30%. In a second point, we are evaluating the sustainability of the team and the key personnel that is already on the company to implement and develop the project. If the company at the moment of applying doesn't have a team, it's also okay. What we want to understand is that there is a structure in place or a plan to hire people in a later stage if the company receives the funding. And to these criteria, we are providing the 30% of the points. Also, as we have mentioned many times, the solution must have the potential to positively impact the lives of children. So we are giving 20% to the relevance of the solution to the lives of children and young people. For this specific goal, we are of course focusing on girls and women. So we are looking what is that problem solution fit and the potential of the application to scale. Remember that I spoke about this form that you will fill. So we want to understand with this criteria, what is the problem and the solution and how is the technology supporting the solution. And 20% in the last 20% is allocated to the project budget and the financing. So we want to understand if you receive up to 100K, how are you going to spend it in a time frame of 1 year? And in here it's important to understand the up to. So you can count with the 100K, and we want to understand how would you be spending it. Think about the 3 main uses that you will give to the funding if you receive it. Now, after this call, I hope a lot of questions have been answered, but if not yet, we are going to keep answering your questions. So I also saw a question about how to reach out to us, and you can send an email to this venture fund at unicef.org. And you can also check the eligibility check in our website. When you go to our website, there is a section that is called our application process. And for each of the steps of the process, you have a set of frequently asked questions. And I encourage you to go and read through these questions, because I'm sure you are going to find a lot of relevant information before you submit the application. Now, the 5th step to get funding is to submit your application. So in a summary, you need to submit your expression of interest by completing the form that is linked in this presentation. All the applications and the submissions must be in English. And the reason for this is because each application or submission is evaluated by at least 3 people. And the only common language that we have in the evaluation panel is English. We are working on other solutions to receive applications in other languages, but so far it's not in place. So please be mindful of this. 3, don't forget to add your 2-minute speech video showing your solution and following the instructions that you will find in the form. And once you have submitted, you will receive an email confirming your submission. That email will have a summary of what you submitted. So you will have a record of the submission that you sent to us. Now, after you have submitted your application, you will be like, what is there for you? Like, why should you apply? So besides the seed funding, that is the one that you are applying to, the UNICEF Venture Fund offers also growth funding. So we have 2 windows of funding. The first one is seed funding for early stage startups, and the growth funding that is offered to companies that have graduated from our portfolio. Besides the funding, we offer 1 year of tailored mentorship in 8 different streams. And this tailored mentorship is made for each of the selected companies. And we provide, for example, technical mentorship in the area that the company is working. So, for example, blockchain or AI, also software development, open source, business, etc. So I invite you to see in our website what are the kind of mentorships that we have, the streams of mentorship. And how does this look? So we have funding and mentorship. And what we do during the cohort selection is to agree with the shortlisted companies and the selected companies. How are we going to work during the year of investment? We call it a year, but sometimes it goes from 12 to 18 months, depending on what is the aim and the final objective of the company. So we conduct a cohort selection, and after that we have 2 phases. In the first 6 months, we have the phase 1, in which we are looking for the finalizing the prototyping, the development, do a strong user testing, where we are going to also collect inputs from the users. We are going to also provide a very strong support for open source licensing, because in the development phase 2, we want to deploy and we want to help the solution and the business grow. So we want to have real customers, a strong business model, and an open source community engagement. Once this year has finalized, we have also a graduation and a follow-up. From the beginning, we provide our companies with access to our network, and how we do this is by providing, for example, media announcements. We write blog posts, and that's also something that we continue doing after graduation. So to all those companies that are selected and that work with us between 12 to 18 months, we show our network what they are doing, because this is a way for us to scale the solutions that are part of our portfolio. And of course, that's the follow-on support. We provide investor visibility, events, etc. And besides this, once the companies have graduated and have finalized the mentorship program, we look to build digital public goods. So what are digital public goods? Is way to build goods that are mainly implemented by governments and UNICEF partners. I will share with you the website for you to understand how are we contributing to the Digital Public Good Alliance. And so we are looking for increased capital raises and portfolio exits. So far, the venture fund has had 8 exits. We are looking to market expansion, as I mentioned at some point, not only from one country to another, but also from one region to another. We are looking to grow the open source engagements, so connecting one company to another and building bigger solutions that have the potential to scale even further. And of course, the deployment with the UNICEF ecosystem, that is not only 190 UNICEF offices, but also other UN organizations and our government partners. With that said, I am going to go into the questions, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen to be able to read and answer any of the questions that are still
I can maybe just add, if you can hear me fine, that the portfolio companies have been able to generate about 12x in follow-on funding after having graduated from the fund. So just to sort of support the part around how business and open source don't go together, we actually believe it's quite the contrary. We do see them go together. There are 8 companies that have been exited or acquired by other firms. You can go onto our website, which I've shared in the chat, which is um, which is www.unicefventurefund.org. If you go onto our website, you will be able to see our portfolio companies. You will also be able to see the latest annual report. So if you just see the venture fund's annual report on the website, you will get a glimpse, actually a deep dive into our financial metrics of our startups, as well as the names of companies that have graduated, uh, as well as names of companies that have been successfully acquired. There's also a specific blog on the acquisitions. We'll drop that in the chat in the next couple minutes.
Thank you, Sana. I see Sylvie, you have your hand raised. You want to unmute yourself?
Hi, thank you for the session. So I would like to ask about the criteria when I submit the ideas. So if, for example, my startup doesn't have any.
We cannot hear you.
Hello.
I can hear
Yes.
him, Sylvia.
Okay, now I can.
So if, for example, my startup doesn't have any prototype, but we have the whole consumer journey and plan and everything, even we can explain that on the video. Are we eligible to apply, or how early the startup are eligible to apply for this fund?
You can apply and you can explain this not only in the video, but also in the questions that you are asked. So you will see there is a set of around 10 questions where you will have the space and the opportunity to explain how early your startup is and what is the plan to have a profit in the next year or so.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. I see the next hand raised is Shapul.
Yeah, thank you very much. And thank you very much for the presentation. I was wondering, my company is registered in the Netherlands, but we are mainly working on a solution for Middle East and North Africa, and we are starting in Iraq. So my question is, I couldn't see or I couldn't find the Netherlands as a country that legally my company is registered. So my question is, should I register it in the case that we've been accepted in Iraq as well? Or as you know, it's quite challenging to register a company in Iraq. That's why we used an European country.
In this case, if the company is shortlisted for the due diligence, the company must be registered in Iraq. As the Netherlands is not a UNICEF program country.
Okay, thank you.
You will be able to, if I can just add really quickly here, you will be able to send us an email with the specific situation on where you cannot apply and the reason for the inability to apply. You'd also have to share with us a detailed breakdown on the team members and where they're based and their nationalities. And we will be able to review that and make a consideration. So I would suggest the best way forward would be to make a submission online to the application form. And then as well, in addition, write to us at venturefund@unicef.org. It's the email ID that we've dropped in the chat. The email is also mentioned in the presentation, in the deck. So when we do send you the deck, you'll receive it from that email. You can respond back to that or write to us as a separate email to that account, and we will adjust the case accordingly.
Okay, thank you.
My volume solves.
I hope that answers.
And maybe my second question, just very
Yeah.
quick. What we are now trying to do, and we have already a MVP, and we tested in several countries in Middle East and Africa. The thing is, we are developing a platform for TVET courses, and within the same company, we have an functionality called Bazaar, and this is more the, let's say, the open source, because we don't put in any license or any subscription for this part. So it's let's say it's a hybrid way, in the way that we are asking for a single course amount, which is very, very cheap if you compare it with the other ones. And at the same time, our platform for the Bazaar to helping people open hair or women, especially hair shops within one click is an open source, and it's totally for free. So how is it? Is it okay, or should it be for 100%?
I would just, if I can just really quickly jump in, I'm sorry. Given that this is a very contextual question, I would suggest you write to us at the venture fund at unicef.org, and we can get back to you on that. This is more for overall process questions so that it's relevant to the rest of the audience. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay, the next person with the hand raised is Nancy.
Yes, thank you. So my name is Nancy. I'm from Kenya. Yeah, so a very interesting and informative session. Yeah, I was just wondering, so if somebody has already have a private for profit business already existing, and it has all the criteria that you mentioned before there, and someone has already got some pre-seed funding, and has already an existing business, and as of now I have like 1.6 million users in Kenya. So can I apply for this, or am I eligible? That was my question.
Yes, you are eligible. So as we said, like, you should submit your application, because we will evaluate case by case on the basis of what the solution is proposing.
In general, for the venture fund, even if you look at our portfolio companies, you will see that we really review the application and the submission based on its specific use case, its quality, and its code. So there could be an earlier stage company with an incredible idea that's looking to build a prototype, and we will consider it and potentially invest in it. There could be a company that is further along its development, so not necessarily an early stage company, but further along its seed stage. We will still consider it and review it based on its code, its application, and its quality of submission.
Okay, enough. Thank you.
Justice? Justice, you can unmute yourself. Let's continue with Sabrina.
Can you hear me well?
Pardon? I cannot hear well.
I'm trying. Can you, or not at all? Hello.
I cannot understand what you are saying.
Please type out the question and you can answer in chat.
Can I speak now? Can you hear me? This is Justice.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much for this wonderful privilege. My name is Justice Samaka. I'm from Nigeria. My question is this. I have a non-profit organization and a profit organization called Justbet International Limited. That is for profit organization. And we have the subsection of it called Jeff Africa. Can I partner? Can that my private company partner with that organization, since we are still into tech, to apply? Secondly, for my company, we have not made any revenue on that profit organization. Are we eligible to apply? We have a working prototype, that
Okay.
have not yet used that. Are we qualified to apply?
Yes. So for the first question, so you are saying you have a for-profit company and you would like to apply with an NGO or a non-profit partner. In this case, yes, you can do it. You can list the NGO or non-profit or governmental partner in one of the questions that we have, that is, what are your current partners? And but the company that needs to lead the application is the for-profit company that you have registered in Nigeria. And for the second question, if your company hasn't made any profit yet, it is also okay to apply. In some cases, we contemplate companies that are in ideation stage or pre-revenue stage because they have piloted their solution, or we see promising that the idea is promising. So it is okay if you apply. Next one, please, Sabrina.
Okay, I'm gonna try without my AirPods. Tell me if you can hear me.
Yes. Yes, we
Okay,
can.
I'm Zytex Africa.
You hear?
When he spoke earlier.
No. Sorry, Sabrina, we cannot hear you.
You seem to be on mute again.
Okay, let's continue with Dala.
Hi, thank you so
I
much.
think it's
Actually, I'm following up on the question of Sabrina.
Yeah, top way.
It's a
Go ahead.
question. Yeah, I'll go ahead. It's actually a question I asked 3 times in the chat, but it has many questions, so I guess it can be complicated to answer to everyone. So basically, Sylvia, you specified that it's fine to actually apply, although the registration process is not over by May 8th, as long as whenever we're shortlisted, we can provide proof of registration. So this will probably be around June, just like you said, Sana. But so afterwards, you show the eligibility check thing, and it was written on the first one that we really need to be registered before starting our registration. So I just wanted to check with you if by May 8th it's okay to apply, at least provide an interest in the call of application. Yeah.
So at this moment, we are talking about the expression of interest stage, and we are receiving applications until May 8th. These expressions of interest are filled in the form that you will find in the website, and this form takes between 30 to 40 minutes to complete. To submit this application, you don't need to be registered yet. It's okay if you point at the country where you would like to register and where you are implementing the solution, or where you are aiming to implement the solution. If after this expression of interest, you are shortlisted and invited to the second stage, that is called request for proposals or due diligence, you must provide the proof of registration. This due diligence is open for around a month, and you are also like given very specific instructions of how to conduct it. So you basically have until May to register. And if you are shortlisted, this is where the proof of the registration needs to be provided.
Perfect.
If I can just add, you do not need to be registered with UNICEF. You need to be registered in a country that is a part of the program country list. You can understand that essentially as the Global South developing countries. If you are registered as a for-profit entity in a country in the list shared, you can apply for funding. And the link is what Vipul has just shared in the chat. So if the country is listed in that list, you can, and you have a company registered in one of those countries, you can apply for funding. You do need to be a for-profit entity, or you should apply in collaboration with a for-profit company registered in a program country. But if you're a non-profit, you cannot apply.
Let's continue with Dala.
Hi, thank you so much for your time. I had two very small questions. First is that I'm from Pakistan and we work in mental health. We do have a product which connects to Engine AI and mental health. We do not have a prototype for this idea at the moment. Would that be a roadblock to apply?
It depends on whether or not you've tested the concept. So do you have a proof of concept for the solution? If you do, you can apply.
It's just that we're in ideation phase with the concept at the moment, so we do not have a proof of concept of the core application concept proposal, but we are actually revenue generating since the last 2 years, and we do have around 10,000 lives that we cover through our corporate partners as well. So if that is something that
I would suggest you submit the application. So we will read every single application that comes in. And we'll be more than happy to review. This is a fairly light application. It's 10 questions at this stage. So just drop in an application. I would say that's a safer bet, because it seems like there is something there, but not a proper fully baked prototype. We will be able to consider it and fund the development if eligible and interesting. So I would suggest you apply.
Thank you for that. And just one leading statement or question with this is that would it be okay, because the application does require us to add a GitHub link? Would it be okay to submit a prototype which is no code or low code at the moment, just to convey the idea of the project?
Yes.
So my second question is that can we partner with another for-profit company which already has a base project ready, and we can build upon and fine-tune our project proposal?
Yes, you can do it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Rafael?
Hi, thank you for the presentation. I have two very brief questions. Number one is, we have a hospital that wants to remain anonymous publicly. So we are happy to have an LOI signed by them and to send this to you and name the hospital, but they just don't want to be named publicly until the product is launched post-pilot. Is that an issue?
No, that's not an issue.
Okay. And the second one is, they have independently of us built an MVP, which they are not happy with, and they understand they need more, sort of another provider, and they will be a co-development partner. Does the data they have already collected count into the application as well, since they are our co-development partner?
Is the data being used for the MVP and the solution?
Yes, we have a Qlik prototype ready that we co-develop with them, and the data that they have collected counts towards both designing the Qlik prototype and will also count into then building the MVP with the grant money that we will hopefully get from you.
Yeah, then in that case, yes, it counts, and as long as there is like no like dependency or it's all good.
Okay, no, there is no dependency. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hussein?
Thank you very much. I first of all want to apologize. I think I'm one of the persons that have been trying to really get it hard to follow Sana. Like she's been speaking at terrific speed. So I would really beg if you can be slow when you communicating for me to make sure that I'm not missing out any single point from your end. I was wondering if I wanted to first share my some of the work that I have at that general email. Is that really something allowed, or it is a red flag? Because it might be mistaken to be a form of conversing for favor. Is that something that we can do to share what we have, maybe to be what you think about it before even maybe going forward. Then the second thing that I also wanted to know, just in case an idea has both profit and non-profit. For example, if like for profit, I know I might want to attract potential investors, and I have a product that I want to put on market that can really solve a solution. But again, I want the impact to be funded by a donor who is passionate about the impact. And now the venture has both profit and non-profit. Is something that can raise concern during this application process.
So if I understood correctly, you want to know if you can write to us at the venture fund email ID and the concern about profit, non-profit. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. Like maybe if I'm to repeat myself, is that the venture has two kind of components.
It's
Yes.
fine. That's okay.
Okay, that's great.
And you can write to us with additional details or questions at the venturefund@unicef.org email.
That's perfect then, I think.
Great. Next question is from Ifedoyin. Sorry if I pronounce the names wrong. Please unmute yourself.
Can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. You actually did not pronounce my name wrong. You did pretty well. Thank you. So I wanted to know if our solution would work, because yes, we're a female-led team, but it is not based on maternal health. Actually, we're trying to build the first centralized system in Nigeria that connects emergency care seekers, hospitals, and emergency care providers all on one platform. We've actually started working on onboarding hospitals, but it's not necessarily to maternal health. Like it's obstetrics and all the other emergencies that are common here in Nigeria, at least like the top three. And so I don't know if it's something we can still apply and look forward to.
That's fine. You can still apply. In general, I see there's another question related to that in the chat. Companies that are leveraging frontier technology for femtech can apply. Companies that are leveraging frontier tech for social good can apply. Companies that are leveraging AI or blockchain for any use case related to children can, of course, apply. We accept applications in general on a rolling basis. So we accept applications throughout the year. Specifically, we are interested in femtech solutions for this call, but we do consider other applications that are doing work in this space and that could make significant social impact. So please do apply.
The next question is Magali.
Me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry if I'm asking a question that you that was part of your presentation. I got disconnected for a long time. Wanted to find out the age limit of participant. Is it 25 years old?
No, there is no limit of age to participate or to be a founder. We do give priority
No, I
to
mean the participants. Is for children. Children up to what age? Is it 25 years old? Like
No, we don't have a limit. We overall, this specific call for applications is femtech, so looking at women and girls. So there's no limit on the age of the women or the girls, as long as the solution is doing good for the specific areas outlined in even the call for applications and the deck use cases that we illustrated. We'll also share the deck with you afterwards, so you will see an example of the use cases. There's no age limit as long as there's social impact.
great, thank you very much. Another question: can it be focused only on education, or it has to be education, health, and all the components together?
Can be just education.
Okay, perfect. And just one last question, just want to validate. We can use an existing technology in a new context with a new idea, but the technology can be an existing one.
Yes, as long as open source.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's something important to consider. It should not be dependent on that, like your whole solution should not be hard dependent on that specific solution if it's not open source, because without it, your business is at risk.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Lucy, please unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you so much. So we are an early stage startup as well. We have a very early prototype and we haven't yet done the testing. So we will apply for this round. But my question is, if we don't pass this one, will we be able to apply on rolling basis throughout the year, or when we have results and let's have progressed?
Yes.
And is that the time frame, or is it just on rolling basis, as you said?
Yes, so we have 2 to 3 calls for applications that are thematic. And when those applications are closed, we are always receiving applications in the rolling one. So you are invited to apply. If you don't pass in this round, you can apply to the next one, to the next call, or in the rolling one. So it is always open. It's not that if you don't pass in this one, you cannot apply in the future. On the contrary, we encourage you to improve the solution and apply in the future.
Yes, and the solution will still be femtech focused, but it can go. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Johanna or Joanna, please unmute yourself.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you very much. So yes, I had a few questions regarding eligibility. I'm currently working on a company that is at the advanced idea stage. I understand that part of the eligibility criteria involves having a working prototype. Is there a limit or a number when it comes to how many users should be onboarded on the app and how much data should be generated? So say we have a website that's working with a technology, an underlying technology that's working. Is there a limit as to the users onboarded that would be considered in the eligibility criteria?
No, we don't have a limit of the maximum, either the minimum. So if you think you are fitting the eligibility criteria, you should apply. We are going to evaluate each case on an independent evaluation.
Okay, thank you. Second question, I just wanted to clarify a few open source requirements. So as long as part of our code base is freely available on GitHub, would that be considered as open source in the context
Yes,
of
as
this
long
application?
as there's no dependency of that code on any proprietary elements or components. Please feel free to compliment.
Okay.
Yeah, what I'm
great.
saying is the source code should be available on any of the code hosting platform with an OSI approved license. That license is what guarantees people to be able to use it for their own use cases. And OSI has 100+ licenses, and this is where if you're selected, your mentor will work with you in identifying what's the best for your business needs and your solution.
Okay.
So
if-
just to
yeah.
add to that, you don't already need to have the license in place. As long as you're willing to have it be open sourced with the right appropriate license, that's also okay.
Okay, that works. Thank you very much. And final question. The project is currently mostly fintech, but fintech to underserved individuals, specifically women. Would that fit the criteria when it comes to financial inclusion and literacy? And I think it was area 3 of the project that you would consider?
Yes, it will.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Grace, please unmute yourself.
Hi, thank you for the info. A quick question is about the timeline. I have checked out the venture fund website. The month 0 would be, I guess, would be the May time that we submit our initial interest form. And in the span of the evaluation, it lasts around 6 months. So the finalists who receive the funding would be announced in November or December this year. I'm just checking the timeline.
Yes, exactly. These are estimated timelines, and we really ask for patience to all the companies applying. We always answer and we evaluate each application individually. So we take around 6 months to come to a final decision, but sometimes it can be longer depending on the number of applications we receive. But
Because in
that's
the
correct, 6 months.
because in the lifespan of a startup, 6 months can be a very big period for
Yes.
them. So there may be a situation when they apply, they are really fit, and over 6 months there may be some changes. And how are the panelists taking into account of the changes of the startup when they are ready to receive the funding, comparing to when they applied?
Sorry, let me take this. So in general, I can just, as Sylvia has already explained in the complete demonstration, this is the first stage of the application. This is an expression of interest. It's 10 questions to understand on a high level, what is your solution? What is the problem you're looking to solve? What is the solution? What is the tech use case? What is the prototype you've developed to date? After this review is done, and after we sort of close this call, we will review every single application that we receive. A short list of these companies will be invited to the next stage, which is the request for proposal stage. At that stage, we will ask for a much more detailed application, wherein we would want responses to more about the data you're using, more about the technology you're building, more about what exactly is intended, a detailed work plan of what you intend to do with funding from UNICEF. That application is then reviewed, and then shortlisted companies again are invited to a demonstration. This is a 45-minute to 1 hour call with our team, with our technical team, our open source leads, our software devs. We then have a detailed conversation on what that work plan looks like, what is the trajectory of the company, which is where you will have the chance to share with us any updates from the time of your expression of interest or from the request for proposal stage on changes that may have happened over that period of time. We will then also be able to, with shortlisted companies selected for investment, revise the final application or work plan. We would co-work on the work plan to co-design and agree on overall timelines of the project so that it meets your reality as of that day. And then we make the final investment decision and investment into companies where we give in the first tranche of funding as well as make do the whole onboarding exercise.
Okay, thank you so much for the details.
Thank you. The next person is Justice.
Thank you for giving me the second opportunity. My question goes on the issue of the prototype. Most of all, like personally, my company has a working prototype on Figma. We are allowed to use it to apply, but in that prototype, we can demonstrate the functionality of that app, both the app and the web application. Are we allowed to apply?
Yes, you can apply with that.
Thank you.
The next question is Matti. Matti?
Hi. Yes. Good morning. I have a quick question. Lots of questions were answered by Sana, so thank you so much for doing that in the chat. One question is, we're a early stage startup. We have done a pre-seed, and we have our product is sort of two-pronged. One is the WhatsApp chatbot. The other is leveraging AI to create learning material. Our intention is to apply, but have the AI piece be submitted as a solution, as a product. Could we simply commit to making that open source and not our WhatsApp chatbot technology piece? Is that a possibility?
This is a question that we can answer once we understand what is that you are proposing. So as we mentioned before, the investment thesis of the UNICEF Venture Fund is aligned with the digital public goods. And we are looking to build solutions that are completely open source. However, we evaluate case by case, and depending on that, companies are evaluated and selected. In your specific case, my advice will be to apply with what you want to open source, and if you are willing to open source the whole solution, that will be even better. But of course, it's up to you to select what you want to open source.
Okay, so and if that's the case, I mean, our core tech is developed, the AI part is not developed, the team is working on it, so we won't have any demo for that or any code in GitHub to show to prove that it's open source, but there is a commitment to making sure that that piece of it is open source. That's okay, right? For example, not being able to show that code.
That's okay, but I think you should still share the source code with us. We will have an email address and GitHub username where you can share it with us from the venture fund, and our technical team can evaluate it, even if it's not open source.
Okay, sounds great. And then one last question, if I may. Folks, startups who go through the early stage track, do they automatically qualify for the later stages? So I saw that in total, they could potentially get 700K, right? 100, 200, 300, and 400K. Is there what has been happening in your experience?
200 and 400K, that's the growth window. And that's only for startups that graduate from the seed funding stage and are showing promising results. That's not for all the startups that come into the seed funding window.
But they can automatically be considered upon graduation.
After graduation.
Okay, great. And one last, I'm so sorry, I keep saying last question. One last question. If a startup graduates from the early stage track, and is revenue generating and financially quite in good position, would they still be eligible to apply for the later stage funding? Yes. Okay, great.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks so much. That's
Bruno? Thank you. Bruno? Okay, and for the sake of time, let's continue. Holgraka or Grass?
Hello. Hi, Grasa, but perhaps Bruno can go.
Yes, thank you. Bruno?
Yeah, just a quick question. Hi, I'm Marilyn from Tanzania. How big is the capacity of the grant? Like how many people would it accommodate, or how many, like it's a 100K to like 10, or just how big?
So we provide 100K in investment per company. We usually invest anywhere between 5 to 15 companies, depending on the quality of the applications and number of applications we receive. The minimum companies that we normally invest in is anywhere close to like 4 to 5 companies. The maximum is usually about 12 to 15 companies per cohort. Each company is eligible for up to $100,000.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hol?
Hi, it's Grasa. I hope you're well. Thank you so much for the presentation, the three of you. I just wanted to ask in regards to the prototype and for the application. I hear that you asked for AI. It has to be AI, or it can be other alternative solutions that are not necessarily AI?
It can be other technologies, but it has to be a frontier tech solution. So we are aiming to select companies, AI and blockchain mainly, but it can be other kind of technologies.
Thank you.
Okay, Tunde?
Thank you very much. I'm Ibo Kontinoni from Nigeria. I wanted to ask when the applications are opened, first of all, and then second of all, is there any particular focus for the fund? Sorry, I joined in late, so this might have been said already. Was there any particular focus in terms of sector for the UNICEF fund, or it's
Yes.
agnostic?
Yes, there is a particular focus, and for this one, as this is the last question and we have reached already the time, I will encourage you to see the recording. You are going to receive the recording after the meeting has finished. Also with some materials that will help you understand the call for applications, as well as the eligibility criteria and the timelines. So everyone who registered into this webinar are going to receive recordings, materials, presentation, and relevant links. And if you have any question between here and May 8th, I encourage you to send us an email to the venturefund@unicef.org. And with this, I will say goodbye and thank you very much for making the time to register and to join us today and your interest in the UNICEF Venture Fund. I wish you the best and hope to see your applications very soon. Goodbye.
Thank you.